family was loading their car for a big trip, and lowered the truck and and they drove away, and it was dark, and out of the bushes come the thieves who were waiting because it was a long weekend. Excellent time to break into someone's house. And so they come in, and the lot, of course, was nothing. They were able to break in, and they get in, and they hear a voice. I see you, and Jesus sees you. And they're like they pull a flashlight out, and again, they heard the voice. They put the flashlight to the voice. A parakeet. I see you, and Jesus sees you. Oh God, the thief is relieved. He turns the light on, and at the foot of the cage is a Doberman pinscher. And the bird said, "Sick 'em, Jesus, sick 'em." One of my favorite homiletic stories. So remember, Jesus calls.
So when you draw Jesus, we draw a bell.
You can draw a bell. Oh, okay, I'll make the announcement.
Just be handed this.
Yeah. Late breaking news. I'm watching, and Jesus is watching. All right. So we took a lot of time with the Ten Commandments because they're so important to our upbringing. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't teach your children, but we grown-ups have got to understand that they were really addressed for adult problems and adult needs, and they're much more challenging. Looking at it in a child's view, my parents are dead. Yay! I can do what I want. No. Honor your father and your mother. Honor your teachers. I don't mean in this case. I think of my teachers and the crap I handed them in school. Every morning I pray for my dead parents, my grandparents, and my teachers. I think of all the crap I did to people who I got away with. It's like, oh, dear. And so honor the aged, honor those in authority, that's how we should be using these commandments and not think, oh, they're kid stuff. They're not. Now, we're to the covenant code. And a word I didn't use, but I'll write it on the board. And I said apodictic, I didn't write. I'll write apodictic so you can see it. And then I'll write the other word, apodictic. And then the other word is casuistic. Casuistic. That's case law. When this happens, do this. Okay? When you break somebody's stuff, do it. This is how you respond. Casuistic law. If then. Okay? So what we're going to do is not read all of it. We're going to read bits and pieces of it. Huh? And again, keep your Hammurabi available, because there will be times when I have us look at that. Did you guys get Hammurabi back there? Hammurabi? You got it. Okay, cool. All right. Where am I, Mark? Here we go. Chapter 21. Now these are the ordinances which you shall set before them. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and the 7th year he shall go out free for nothing. So there was slavery in the Old Testament, but a Jew could not keep a Jew as a slave beyond 7 years. Okay? And slavery was never ethnic. It wasn't black people or Asian people or Canaanite people. Because you are that, you're automatically a slave. That's how it differs from American experience with slavery. All right? If after his 7 years, the person should be set free. But if they choose not to be set free because their spouse still has time, or their children who have been born in the house now are treated as slaves, you can commit to being a slave for life. But there's a strange little episode where the master takes the slave to a door frame and he puts an awl through the ear into the wooden frame. making a hole in his ear. Okay. Now the idea is because when you are a slave, your master always has your ear. You know, the word audire in Latin is to hear. Obey is ob audire. It's the same root word. To obey. Just in case you're missing it, it's snowing outside. Just flaking. Just flaking. But go look. There it is. Yeah. So audire, to listen and to obey, those two go together in root language. Audire, ob audire. One is to hear, one is to listen. Okay? Verse 10. This is still dealing with slavery. If a master takes another wife to himself, he shall not, or this is a husband of a slave husband. If he takes another wife to himself, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, or her marital status. And if he does not do these three things for her, she shall go out for nothing without payment of money. You see, law is not just telling us burdens that we have to do. It is a way of honoring obligations. You know, just because I marry another person, again, this is multiple marriage, multiple spouses was possible for men in this culture. You can't show more affection for one than for another when it comes to these basic things, okay? So even though there's lots of stuff in the Old Testament that will make women just shake their head and weep, I just want to point out that there was some sense of justice here, okay? So those are rules about slavery. So chapter 21, verses 1 through 11, slavery. Next, on capital crimes. Verse 12. Whoever strikes a man so that he dies shall be put to death. But if he did not lie in wait for him, but God let him fall into his hand, then I will appoint for you a place to which he may flee. But if a man willfully attacks another to kill him treacherously, you shall take him from my altar that he may die. Now what's going on there is the distinction between murder and manslaughter. If I'm hacking at trees and I reach back with my axe and it slips out and it knocks you dead, you're still as dead, even though I didn't intend to. But the idea of I murdered a person of your family, they are owed vengeance. So what did you do? If it was an accidental death, you could flee to the sanctuary where there was an altar, and the altar had horns. It's kind of low on the page here, and I'm not a good artist, as you already can imagine. So there's trying to draw some depth. Oh, I need you up here. Yeah. But at the points, you have areas that stand above. Those are the horns of the altar. And as long as when we were kids, when we played a tag, the tree was we called it the goal or ghoul. If your hand was on, you could rest. You couldn't. That's what the horns are. The altar are. As long as your hand is on the horn of the altar, even though you accidentally killed somebody, it's an accidental murder or an accidental death. Sorry, an accidental death. The other family still wants your blood, but as long as you're holding on to the altar, they cannot pull you away. Okay. Now it goes on to say, if it was a real murder, then they can pull you away. So it was a way of trying to lubricate again, there's no court system, there's no police. This is, if you hurt a member of my family is going to take vengeance on your family. And this was a way of kind of trying to get around such things, okay? So there are cases, and there will be cases of people being pulled away from the altar. Now that's sacrilegious, because this is God's law. As long as you're touching the altar, you're safe, as long as the act was accidental. Christianity had borrowed that, and in the Middle Ages, in cases of murder, this was the case. And then you've heard the word in English, sanctuary. Remember sanctuary rules? Huh? Today, people who come from a foreign country or in our country illegally, there might be an institution, a church that will offer sanctuary. That's where that word comes. The sanctuary is the name of the area where the altar is, huh? So that all comes together there. Sanctuary, what you're reading here. Okay? 16. Whoever steals a man, whether he sells him or is found in possession of him, shall be put to death. So kidnapping someone is a capital offense. Look at number 22 on the Hammurabi page. If a citizen has committed a robbery and is caught, that man shall die. Now, in the biblical account, the actual theft is of a person, but you see there's a connection, or is a parallel
Number
there.
14 on the Harabi.
14. There you go. Sorry, I had the wrong number. If a citizen steals a child of a citizen, he shall die. Thank you. That's better. Okay? 17. Verse 17. Whoever curses his father or his mother shall be put to death. You've often heard that cited when people try to make fun of the Old Testament law. They mean curse is not just, damn you, Father. No, remember, a curse is invoking God and wanting God to hurt somebody. That's a curse. Again, we got to remember, we use the word cursing more broadly in English than the Bible does. To curse your father or mother is seriously to call God, to want them dead, to want them to have bad, So and they take it seriously because they believe God hears these things, huh? Okay, it's not empty language. Verse 18. When men quarrel and one strikes the other with a stone or with his fist, and the man does not die, but keeps his bed, then if the man rises again and walks abroad with his staff, he that struck him shall be clear. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall have him thoroughly healed. So, again, you don't get to kill somebody because they beat you. If you recover, you pay a penalty. The penalty of their lost service. Okay? Verse 20. When a man strikes his slave, male or female, with a rod, and the slave dies under his hand, he shall be punished. So, slavery is not just property. But go on, it reads, but if the slave survives a day or two, he is not to be punished, for the slave is his money. So if you murder a person, a slave, then you're held accountable. But if you beat them so badly that they take a couple days to die, that's your property. You lost your property there. I guess I don't buy it, I just read it. I don't make the rules. 23, verse 23. If any harm follows, it's a similar sort of situation about two men fighting. A pregnant woman is there, and in fighting the two men, they hit the woman, and she has a miscarriage. Okay? Maybe we should read the whole thing, just to make sense. When men strive together and hurt a woman with child, so that there is a miscarriage, and yet no harm follows, other than the loss of the life, the one who hurt her shall be fined, according as the woman's husband shall lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. If any harm follows, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. That's the famous, infamous eye for an eye passage. And again, as I think I mentioned last time, this was a step forward because, it limits the amount of what you can expect in response. You broke my arm, I get to break your arm. I don't get to cut your arm off. I don't get to kill you. All right? Look at number 196